God. Ask God.
Hey Scott, my name is Ben Laboon. I just want to thank you for all that you do. I feel like I've finally found the business model that works for me, and I have you to thank for it. My question was about your daily operations of running a private label business. How much time do you spend working in a day on your business? Do you have a daily routine, such as you spend X amount of time doing product research, or you spend X amount of time tweaking your listings to improve conversion rates? I just wanted to get a better idea of how you run your private label business every day. Again, thanks for all that you do, and I hope to hear from you soon.
Hey, Ben, thank you so much for the question. And this is a great question, and I wish that I can give you like an exact number of what happens on a daily basis. I do have a schedule. I've been doing this for a long time, but sometimes I fall off of the schedule and then I come back to the schedule or I recreate the schedule. Perfect example, my daughter is now back in school. So because of that, I had to readjust my schedule. It's all about planning your day and then executing on that day. Currently right now, as I'm recording this, it's before 9 o'clock a.m. So my daughter's to school, I came home, and now I am scheduling myself this time to record these episodes, and nothing else will get in the way. So again, it works the same thing with private labeling. I have certain tasks that I go to or that I look at, or I do the research at certain times that I allow myself that time for Amazon, right? Because I've got a bunch of different things that I'm juggling. Amazon is just one of them. So because of that, I have to divide my day up differently. But if you are working a 9-to-5 job, and I get this question a lot, like if I'm working a 9-to-5 job, like how do you do it? Like how do you find the time, Scott? Well, first off, you have to go, and I talked about this in the beginning of this episode, is finding your why, because that's going to motivate you and get you through those tough times, but also getting you to pull yourself out of bed an hour early or stay up an hour later, whatever it is, right? So you have to have those times. For me personally, it's kind of random of what I work on and what I do. It depends on what's happening then. Like we just got done doing a product launch for 2 SKUs. And really, that was a lot of back and forth with someone that I'm working with in my business that's helping me along with that. So we were managing that. And then also we were looking at the data. Then we started up some new pay-per-click campaigns. So again, there might be an hour or 2 in my day, and then I will decide what is the most important thing that has to be done in that time period. But if we're talking about like maintenance, kind of like a maintenance mode, well, I would say an hour really gets me everything that I need to get done to just maintain and run the operations. Like an hour will pretty much do it. Now, if you're dealing with a supplier and you're going back and forth with them, that can change, right? But if we're talking about just daily operations, like looking at the inventory, looking at the sales data, looking at your pay-per-click campaigns and making sure nothing is too far out of a line there. But again, you might spend an hour just on pay-per-click. You may allow just an hour to really go through and start weeding through and looking at the data, because that can take some time. And you'll find that. Same thing with product research. Now, just 2 days ago, I spent probably about an hour and a half just kind of digging through, because I haven't been really doing a ton of that in the past month. So I said, you know what? I kind of wanted to kind of see what, from a fresh kind of like a fresh, point of view, or a fresh, start. Because a lot of times when we get in that product research, and any of you that are listening right now that's in that product research stage, it can get to the point where you just feel like you got to walk away, right? You got to walk away. Have you ever, like, I don't know, I guess musicians would feel like this. I'm a musician. I play guitar for those of you that don't know. I was in a band when I was 17 years old. So it's kind of like that. Like it's kind of like you're working on this thing, and it just starts to sound all the same. And until you walk away and sit back down and kind of regroup, but sometimes you got to take a week or 2 off, and then you can come back and with a fresh set of eyes or ears or perspective. So it's really important to do that as well. So again, like product research the other day, I spent about an hour and a half. Had fun though. Had fun doing it. But again, the way that I break up my days, I've got certain chunks. I've got certain chunks for different parts of my business whether it's the private label or whether it's my photography stuff or whether it is real estate stuff or whether it's the podcast, or a partnership that I'm working on. Like, there's different parts of the day that are divided up. But the one thing that doesn't ever change really is my morning routine. That's pretty much been consistent now. And then I'm trying really hard to turn things off at around 4 or 5 o'clock. So then it's just family time and I'm not popping in and checking email and stuff like that. So again, it's different for everyone, but just to understand that if you're at this part-time, you have to be really, really focused on the time that you're going to allow yourself and know what you're going to do for that time to really, really make it most effective for that time that you're going to spend. I can't stress that enough. Because if you don't do that, you're going to be distracted. You're going to be like dabbling in a bunch of different areas. I know this was a little bit different of an answer maybe, because maybe you wanted like, okay, well, for 15 minutes, I check, my Sellers Central account and I look at my sellers feedback. And then from there, I move on to step 2. And that is I look at my pay-per-click campaigns. And then after that, then I contact my suppliers at, 11:45. It's not like that. It's more like blocks of time. Like, 9 to 10 o'clock is Amazon time. So however I want to allocate that. And then what I might do is I might then make notes the night before that I want it to be designated for product research, or I want it to be for sourcing, or I want it to be for overview of the past launch that we just did, or rankings, or something like that. So it's really chunked up into bits and pieces throughout the day, but each block is designated for a certain business or a certain thing in that business. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully I didn't confuse all of you. But really it's simpler than I made it sound. It's really like just themed. So like one day or one part of the day is themed for one thing that I'm working on, and I only work on that one thing. Like right now I'm recording this podcast. It's allocated, right? On my schedule. It's even color coded. Like that's the color. And that's what's happening during that time. So hopefully this helped you. And understand that everyone is going to be a little bit different. But the one thing I will say is anyone that's out there that's saying like, but Scott, you work from home and this is all that you have to do. So it's easier for you, but it wasn't always easier for me. It's still not easy because being your own boss is sometimes harder because you're not told what to do. You got to be your own boss and really take your day and make details about your day so you get stuff done. But you got to kind of rewind a little bit in time. I mean, I worked a full-time job for years as a construction worker, and I built a photography business on the side with my wife. And I built a house on top of that in that 1 year, which was kind of crazy now that I look back at it. But I did it because I was hungry and I wanted to do it, and I wanted to have what I have now. And then going through to where I am now, it's just, I worked my butt off, and I still work my butt off, but I just do it now differently. So hopefully that helped you. Anyone else out there that's struggling with this, hopefully that's helped. And hopefully in the future, I can come up with something a little bit more structured, maybe even like a little template. Well, hey there. Thank you so much for listening to that episode of Ask Scott. Now, that was just a highlight from one of our full episodes where I generally answer 3 to 4 questions on a podcast. If you want to go back and listen to all of the past archives of not just the Ask Scott session, but all of the full episodes where I do interviews with top Amazon sellers, people starting from scratch and building a business, if you want to listen to any of those episodes, head over to theamazingseller.com and you can find all of that over there. You can also find details there on how you can ask your own question and get it aired on an upcoming Ask Scott session and possibly see it here on YouTube or just on the podcast. All right, so definitely head over to theamazingseller.com. There's tons of resources over there for you to be able to build your e-commerce and Amazon business. So definitely go check that out. Now, I just wanted to remind you one thing before I let you go. There's a lot of information out there and some of it is really, really good. What I want you to remember is you have to not just consume the information, you have to actually apply that information. So take this information that you learned here today and apply it to your business. And this way here, you can get results. As my shirt says, I wear it almost daily. Take action. We'll see you guys.